Hey, welcome back to the farm. Today is a really exciting day. I'm down here in my little greenhouse. I'm actually potting up tomatoes. I'll show you that on the next video. But today, guys, we got a new product and I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this for years. So as you know, we have a flock of Navajo Churro sheep. I absolutely love them. They are very hardy and they are stunning to look at. We use them primarily for meat, and I am just now venturing into the fiber side. And when you are in the fiber side of the sheep world, it is totally different than the meat side. But our breed of sheep, Navajo Churro, they have like the chef's choice of meat. And so that is why we got them primarily. We needed something to rotate on our pastures with our other animals. They're primarily like a desert sheep. So that just goes to show like they'll eat brush, they'll eat weeds, they'll happily graze on a pasture, but you know that our pastures aren't the best quality at this point of the farm. We're improving them, but we got them so that we can graze them and they can thrive on our poor quality pastures. I like to do things in baby steps here on the farm, and so getting sheep was a big learning curve for us. And so I have just been focused on raising healthy, happy sheep and the meat side of it. I'm just now venturing into the fiber side. And so you saw in a previous video, we went to a mill that's about half an hour away from here. We learned how to process our fleeces and kind of the steps involved in that and what I can do at home to make things easier and cheaper on their side. And there is one more layer of that I am doing, and eventually I want to be able to do this myself, but for right now we're hiring it out. And that is sheep pellets. So when you are shearing a sheep, sheep have to be sheared unless they are hair sheep, that they lose their hair naturally. But when you are working with a wool breed of sheep, like ours are, they need to be sheared once or twice a year. Ours, we've learned that the humidity and the moisture levels where we're at, we need to shear them twice a year. Otherwise, they felt underneath, and that's uncomfortable for them. It's not healthy because it kind of creates a barrier that traps in a whole bunch of stuff, and so it just isn't good. Plus, it makes it really hard to shear. So we need to shear twice a year. We shear in the spring before they lamb, and then we shear in the fall before it gets really cold. So when we're shearing, the sheep shearer, he takes clippers and he trims them down, and he is left with good fleece, bad fleece. Hopefully we don't have any bad fleece, and then the scraps. So when we go to skirt a good fleece, we take off any areas that are matted, that have vegetable matter, which is poop, pee. It gets kind of like a yucky texture to it. It's stained, and lots of times it'll have little pieces of straw or hay or sawdust kind of embedded in there. And those are unusable, and they've been unusable for forever. And so what we do is we mix it in our garden when we're planting, and that works out really well. And there is, over in Europe, it's a big thing, but it's slowly gaining traction over here. And I've been trying for years to figure out how to do this, but it is making pellets out of the unusable fleece. So here you can see usable wool, usable fleece, and this will be made into something for yarn or something along that line. But then to make the pellets, what you do is you put them through like a chopper, and it cuts up the fleece into small usable pieces. And if you look closely, you can see that they're all like clumped up like that into little balls. And so this is, I believe this is what's called shredded wool. And eventually we are going to get a machine to do this ourselves so that we have these little wool pieces that I can mix in the compost pile and possibly offer that as a service to other farms in the area. And it just makes it a lot more usable and makes the wool a lot more compostable. Normal sheep fleece takes a couple years to break down, in a compost pile. And when you take and shred it so that it's like that, it cuts the time down drastically, and it in that form is about 6 to 9 months. Now, my thought is that this shredded would be great for adding to the compost pile so that it decomposes faster, obviously, but also like in pots or mixing with bulk soils, that kind of stuff. That would be wonderful, and it's a lot cheaper than making it into pellets. But then the next step of the process is making it into pellets. So once it's shredded, and you can see here that it has all sorts of stuff in it. It's got hay and dirt and poop and everything. So it goes from there and it gets run through a pellet mill, and it makes these wool pellets that are mixed with all of the dirt and vegetable matter that are in the fleeces naturally. So we sent in some of our old fleeces from when we first sheared, and just had them kind of do almost all pellets, but then we had them shred some so that I can see what the shredding looks like and how fine it is and all of that. And we will be sending sometime within the next 3 or 4 months a big batch. We'll probably be driving it down to make it a little more cost efficient. And so this is going to be a new product we are selling. You might be wondering, what are the pellets good for? That's a good question. Wool pellets are a biodegradable, slow-release fertilizer because as that decomposes, all of the organic matter in there also decomposes, as well as the wool, which is a natural fertilizer in itself. So it's a slow release fertilizer. The pellets will decompose in about 3 to 6 months. So a normal fleece is a couple years. You shred it, you put it through the shredder, and that goes to about 6 to 9 months, and then pellets bring it down to 3 to 6 months. So they are a great slow release fertilizer. Sure that the decomposition time varies based on your climate, how much you water, and what is all in the pellets as far as vegetable matter, organic matter, the type of wool it is. But I'm just giving a general idea. I actually have a box of pellets that I'm going to be testing all these theories on, and instead of just going by what the people who make the pellets for us, what they say, I want to actually figure out for our fleeces it takes this long to decompose. So, and I'm going to send some in for analysis on the NPK values and all the other micronutrients that are found in the pellets. So they are organic. We know exactly where we're coming from and what the sheep have on them, which is nothing. And so I feel really safe using these in vegetable gardening and that kind of stuff. They're sustainable because sheep have to be sheared. These guys get sheared twice a year. And so this is something that grows back twice a year. The wool market in America, and maybe worldwide, I'm not quite sure, but at least in America, the wool market has really bottomed out. This provides another use for the wool that otherwise wouldn't have a market. Now, it feels really horrible to ship off a whole bunch of really nice fleece to be made into pellets, but like for us, we used part of our first shearing that would have been 2021, spring of 2021, and so it was dirty. They've been sitting in bags in our barn for 3 years. And so for us, that was worth the value. But as we progress into the fiber side of things, we'll be using belly wool and wool that isn't necessarily the best for turning into yarn or other items. And so we really are trying to use the whole animal and make them so that their life is more valuable than just providing meat for people. One thing people might not realize, they understand that wool wicks water, which is great for plants because then it'll protect plants from overwatering. But also, they don't realize the flip side of that is that wool holds a lot of water. Everything I've read says somewhere between 20% of their weight in water to 3 times their weight in water. So I'm not sure on that. That's something I'm going to research before I start like advertising and that kind of stuff, but wool holds water. So when you water, the wool pellets make watering more efficient. We can water and the wool will hold the water, and then it'll slowly release it. The plants will feed off of that instead of like our area super sandy and the topsoil was sold off, so we're in like pure sand. And so what will happen is the wool pellets will hold on to that moisture for us so that our plants get more of an even watering instead of it just filtering right through the ground. With that said, the wool pellets also provide porosity to the soil, and they will also add air. So when you think of it, the wool pellet kind of puffs up, and it'll create little air pockets. And so that's really good because then that provides extra oxygen for your plants, and it makes it so the roots are easier to grow and they don't have to work as hard to send off new growth in their roots. So that works out really well. Everything I've read says the wool pellets average about an 902 NPK value for a slow release fertilizer. So they have a higher nitrogen value, about a 0 for the phosphorus, and K is potassium, I believe, and that's about a 2. I am going to send a sample of these in because I just want to verify all of that myself. And from what I've read, the macronutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. They have calcium, magnesium, and sulfur in them. And the micronutrients are iron, manganese, I can't say that, manganese, boron, copper, zinc, and then sodium. So they are supposed to be an amazing slow release fertilizer for gardening. Not only that, they're not heavy, and since they fluff up, they're really good for hanging baskets because they won't dry out as quickly, and it makes kind of like almost like a pot filler, so that your baskets aren't super heavy for you. I've seen many people advertise it as a good eco-friendly peat alternative. I'm really excited about this. It's providing us one more resource off of our farm that we can use to then turn around and put that money back into our farm. So the next thing on the list I have to obviously send off those samples that I want to send off, but I need to figure out packaging, and that is going to be the hardest part for me because I want something that is eco-friendly, but it is also going to be sturdy so that people can buy a package of it and keep it in their greenhouse or whatever, and the bag won't like fall apart. So I need to, I have samples that were delivered yesterday, so I need to work on those. But that is a new addition coming to the farm, and I'm so excited about it. That is it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.